Hello everybody, I hope you're doing great today. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to increase your wealth. So before we talk about increasing your wealth, it's best to define what wealth is. So let's take a look at Wikipedia here, which provides a good answer. Basically, wealth is an abundance of valuable financial assets or physical possessions, which can be converted into a form that can be used for transactions. It also mentions the modern concept of wealth is of significance in all areas of economics, and clearly so for growth economics and developing economics. It also states the modern concept of wealth is of significance in all areas of economics, and that wealth is context dependent. So let's talk about the statement there, context dependent. What does that mean, context? The context of the situation. Take, for example, this $20 bill. Let's say you have a million of these. That gives you $20 million. So you've got $20 million in cash. Leave aside anything about banking and banks and whatnot. You have that money in the US. Definitely, we could say you're wealthy with $20 million. You can do plenty. But the currency itself is not necessarily what will make you wealthy. For example, you take that same $20 million and go to North Korea, taking out all illegal activities and whatnot. You take that $20 million to North Korea, it's going to be worthless. That money is not going to do anything for you. In fact, it might be the opposite. It might be bad for you. If the government catches you with that much currency, they're likely to take it away from you, lock you up, throw away the key, in which case all that wealth meant little. Same thing is if I give you $20 million, but then I drop you in the middle of a deserted island, what is $20 million, 20 million of these bills going to do for you? Not really anything. Maybe you could use it as kindling to start a fire, if you're able to start a fire in that deserted island. Depending on the stacks of money, what denomination, how big those stacks are, maybe you could build a shelter out of it. Who knows? But that $20 million then became worthless. It doesn't really help you. So that's the contextual part. Another example is this Indian rupee note, and which was later taken out of circulation. The reason they took it out of circulation was because in India they have this concept of black money and white money. It's basically what we here in the US call under the table. So you're getting paid under the table, it's cash, you're trying to avoid taxes. So same thing in India. There was a lot of black money being passed around, and they would use large notes like this to pass that money around. So the government said, this note right here, you need to convert it, you need to turn it in, deposit it into your bank. And if you don't, after a certain date, this money is no longer valid. So a lot of people were forced to deposit this money, and then that became a means for the government to track that money so they could tax that money, because there's a lot of that under the table money that people are trying to avoid paying taxes on. The government wants their share, so that's why they changed the currency. So later on, they did reintroduce a new 500 rupee currency, but with all that money that was hidden under the table for a long time, that was forced back into the economy. Same thing, those people, they had a lot of money in there. If they didn't deposit it, they were afraid of the consequences of the taxes. They didn't want to pay tax. So there were stories of people, they didn't want to give it back to the government. They ended up burning the money. That wealth is literally up in smoke. So the wealth is contextual. It's not just the currency. The currency, especially in a functioning economy, the currency is what helps you live in a wealthy lifestyle. So wealth is more than just currency, as I explained there. Wealth is the ability to feed yourself, to house yourself, to get medical care when you need it, and to enjoy leisurely pursuits. I remember reading on Reddit somebody talking about the wealthy in the US, that hey, if they ended up leaving, they could take all their wealth with them, go to another country, and would leave everybody else left behind in the US with nothing. So that's somebody who did not understand wealth clearly. First of all, most of the wealthy in the US today, they don't have a lot of this currency here. They have it in zeros and ones in some electronic ledger somewhere. So maybe they can convert that currency, but if it does come to the situation where all the wealthy want to up and leave, yes, definitely they can try and convert that money. But in that situation, though, it's likely that because there's a government collapse, in which case this money is going to be worthless. What are they going to transfer? Maybe they've got gold, maybe they got some boats, some yachts, whatnot, but they can't take their houses with them. If they own any land, if they own any factories that are here in the US, they can't take that with them. So all that, they flee to Europe, for example, for whatever reason. Everything is still left behind here, and that's where you'll see that wealth is being able to house yourself. Do you have land? You can buy a house. You can build a house on. Did you purchase a house? Do you have enough money, or you prefer renting? You're renting a property to house yourself, house your family. You've got enough money to eat, provide food. get medical treatment when you need it. That's part of being wealthy. That's an initial step. That's meeting those initial few things on that hierarchy of needs. Your food, shelter, medical treatment, whatnot. You meet those, then yes, you're starting your way on your path to having some wealth, to being wealthy. So being wealthy is providing for that minimum. It's also having more as well too. So the best way to get more wealth is not to earn to spend, but actually earn to save. A lot of people go to work, they earn to spend money. So yeah, I got a job. I'm going to go buy a nice car. I want to buy a huge house. I'm going to go on multiple overseas vacations each year. I want to buy the fancy handbags, the fancy watches, go buy the expensive iWatch with the fancy band. So while they make you look rich, make you look wealthy, in fact, if you've spent everything you've had to buy all those things, really that's all the possessions you have, you're living paycheck to paycheck, then you're not really wealthy. Then you're struggling actually. Any surprise expense comes up, you need to pay for a couple new tires because your tires are old, or you blew a couple of tires. That's a major expense that takes a dent out. And a lot of people are financing those acquisitions, the fancy cars, the fancy jewelry, the fancy purses, the fancy clothing, using credit card. In which case, if you're not paying that credit card off, you've got a monthly balance, you're paying upwards of 20%, 25% interest rate on those credit cards. And that's actually a big sap of wealth. That's taking money out of your pocket. You're paying, basically you're renting that lifestyle, you're renting money from the credit card companies to purchase those things, and you're not really getting ahead. So when you go to work, you should earn to save money, not earn to spend money. We really don't need those things like the fancy watches, fancy vacations, fancy cars. If you have the extra money, certainly you can go buy that stuff, treat yourself. At the same time too, going into debt to get those things, really what does it do for you other than make you look rich? And you come home, you're frustrated because mortgage is due, the inflation is eating your paycheck more than you're bringing in. Suddenly you got a flat tire, you got to replace a tire. It's no fun. Another way to grow your wealth is to buy assets that increase your wealth. So not just buying things like fancy handbags, fancy cars, especially with something like a car, it's not appreciating in value, it's depreciating in value. That's something you don't want. So don't go out on the extreme with those $1,000 car payments. Find that car that 4 wheels, 4 doors, gets you to and from work. And if you do have to borrow for that, the cheaper the car is, the better your credit score is, the better interest rate you're going to get, and you're spending less money on that. And then drive that car for a while. Don't switch cars every 2-3 years just because there's a new model out now and you just want the latest and greatest fancy car because, hey, it looks great. A lot of society is driven by marketing. Buy this great watch, buy the Apple Watch, go buy your latest $1,000 phone, Google phone, whatnot. Look cool while walking around talking on your phone. Truth of the matter is that money is better saved. So with those savings, rather than buying depreciating assets, buy appreciating assets, assets that are going to go up in value, whereas depreciating assets are going to go down in value. So for example, buys dividend stocks that are going to pay you back on a monthly basis. And with those dividends, you can reinvest those dividends into different stocks, or in most cases, a lot of those brokerages will allow you to reinvest those dividends directly back into the stock itself. Then you're actually growing that value of the stocks. If you're buying investment real estate, buy real estate that's going to be paying you a cash flow. While appreciation is nice, if you're not getting a cash flow in that real estate, why are you buying it? So cash flow is key when purchasing real estate. Your house, while is technically an asset, it's actually a depreciating asset. If you're not putting money into your house on a regular basis, if you're not making updates, if you're not repairing issues that go wrong with the house, then the house is going to go down in value, and it may get to the point where it becomes unlivable, in which case that the value is just going to go straight down. So your house, while can be considered an asset, it's not really appreciating unless you're putting money into it, and it's definitely not cash flowing unless you've converted one room or one part of your house to rental, in which case that is cash flow property, and that might make sense. That doesn't mean you shouldn't live in a house, you shouldn't live somewhere. If you have the means to purchase a house, live in that house. Don't go all out, don't extend your budget. Keep your mortgage payment reasonable within your budget. That way you still have money to keep up on repairs and maintenance and updates of the house, pay your other bills, feed yourself, and invest. Don't go out and spend on everything and anything just because, hey, it makes you feel good. Look at your bank statements as they grow. Make that the way you feel good. As your bank account grows bigger, as your value, your net worth gets bigger, that's when you start saying, okay, hey, this is actually what makes me feel good. And then when you do have that money, you do have that savings to go buy something, make sure you want it, make sure you need it. Don't just buy it because you have the money Is it something useful? Is it something that's going to help you out? The make you look nice is more marketing speak, and that's what the marketers love. They want to sell you that product. They want you to buy that product because that keeps them paid. But on the other hand, you want to keep yourself paid. You want to increase your wealth. So purchase those products when you need them, if you need them, and if they fit in with your budget. If your current job doesn't pay you enough, where you're not able to make enough to cover your spending and savings, then you need to look at, can you get a different job? Do you need an extra job? Do you need to do something on the side? Whether one of your hobbies, you enjoy painting, make paintings, sell paintings to people. So use those side gigs to increase your income and increase those savings. Over time, as you build that savings up, they will kind of snowball. So you've got that stock account, you're investing in stocks, you're having your dividends reinvested, that's going to grow as well. You're continually putting that money in there. So that's another thing to do, is make an automatic savings plan. If you're working a W-2 job, your employer has a 401k, make sure you're putting away the minimum amount that if there's any employer match, you're getting that full match, and that's going into your 401k for retirement. So that's an automatic savings plan. Not only are you putting away that money automatically on a per check basis, but you're also getting extra money, bonus money from your employer that you wouldn't get normally if you did not do that. And that's savings for your retirement, and that's wealth for your retirement. Similarly, with your paycheck, in most situations these days, you don't get a paper paycheck from your employer. You get a electronic deposit from your employer. Go to your employer's portal, your HR website, wherever you have it, and see if you can set up allotments. So set up those allotments where you're taking off money off of your paycheck. Start small. If you need to, start $20, $100, whatever. Start small. Take that off the top of your paycheck, put it in your savings account, put it in your stock brokerage account, have it go directly there. Outside of your 401k savings, just have it go directly there. Have that money there. Start saving that money up, especially when you've got a bigger goal. You're saving money for a bigger asset, a cash flowing asset. Start saving that money up. So then when you have enough money, that money's ready to go. You can go purchase that cash flowing asset, and then you've actually taken that money, used some leverage, and you're creating a cash flow that's actually increasing your net worth, your wealth. I will be covering this topic in detail over the course of these videos, over the course of my YouTube channel. So feel free to tune in, check out those videos in the future. Check out some of my past videos as well, where I talk about other topics that also relate to wealth building. What are some suggestions you have for increasing your wealth? Please drop those in the comment section below. Let me know. If you have any suggestions for future topics, also drop those in the comments. I'd be happy to take a look at them and consider them for a future video. Please hit that like button. That gives me feedback that this video is worthwhile to you. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.